Thank you, Tom. That was really good pronunciation. He worked really hard on that pronunciation, the name. So good job, Tom. Thank you. So this is me. And in the interest of time, I'm going to jump straight into the presentation. So I like React, and I like GraphQL. And I'm here today to let you know that using GraphQL with React can be easier than you think. And the advantages are simply too great to pass up. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room knows what GraphQL is, but in case you don't, it's really a simple query language plus runtime that converts your client requests from this form into this form, which is a big win. And it converts your API responses from this form into that form, which is undeniably better. But I really like to define GraphQL with what it really is. It's a replacement for REST. Now, why do we need a replacement? There are many reasons, but perhaps the most important reason to mention here in the lightning talk is performance. And I'm going to totally attempt to explain GraphQL performance with a nerdy bad joke. So GraphQL is legend, wait for it, dairy. REST, on the other hand, is L, wait for it, E, wait for it, G. So you get the point. So assuming that you're sold on GraphQL, the question becomes, how do we use GraphQL with React? Do we need a framework? Do we need something like Apollo or Relay? And the answer is simply, probably. Those frameworks exist for very good reasons. And honestly, if you need most of these reasons, and probably more that I'm missing or maybe not aware of, you probably need to use a framework, or maybe parts of a framework. But if you're using REST today in a React application without a framework, you're probably doing some of this manually. And in that case, switching to GraphQL is really a no-brainer. This list is not a must-have list all the time and everywhere. So let me simplify the picture and tell you how GraphQL fits in there. So React gives us a language to declaratively describe our user interfaces. And GraphQL gives us a language to declaratively describe our data requirements. So that's a very good match. Every React application has data requirements, and we can use GraphQL language to describe the exact requirement very clearly and in a much better way than using multiple REST API calls. But probably the more important match is really how React gives us composability with its components, and GraphQL gives us composability with its fragments. So the most important thing to do to make GraphQL work with React is to match the hierarchy of React components with a hierarchy of GraphQL fragments. Then in a top-level component or something, we can put together these fragments, ask the server for operations at certain points, and receive back data elements. And then we can flow these data elements to the components that requested them as props. So doing that will give us all the power of GraphQL performance and declarative. But there are more subtle benefits. For example, extendability becomes a matter of changing fields in a fragment somewhere. The components are basically isolated from the rest of the application in terms of their data requirements. Every component owns a part of the requirement. And when that part changes, the rest of the application don't really need to care about that change or even be aware of it. So since I don't have a lot of time to show you an example of what I'm talking about, I wrote an article about it. This goes over a simple application, not a to-dos application, one level up from that. But I go through converting the application from an in-memory API into a GraphQL API. So GraphQL is simply amazing. But it comes with challenges. And I think the hard part is on the server. It's kind of hard to prototype something real to convince teams about GraphQL. Now, we have options. We can use GraphQL as a backend service in the cloud. If you want to host your data in the cloud, you can generate an API. You can use a service like Scaffold or GraphQL. But I kind of like owning my data. So I created GraphFront, which generates a GraphQL schema from a database schema. So it will read things like foreign keys and basically create GraphQL relations based on that. It's not the only library that does that, but I kind of want to experiment with the idea, and I wanted to take the idea further. So I created GraphFront UI, which is a React application that uses GraphFront to render an admin interface on tables and data. So with these two libraries, you can basically host your own GraphQL as a backend service. And those applications are totally new, starting, probably missing a lot of features, and I could use a lot of help if you have the bandwidth and passion. Let's give back to this awesome GraphQL community, and let's make adopting GraphQL easier for the newcomers. Thank you.